Tonight, you will get into a car, or a bus, or maybe a bicycle, and you will go somewhere without thinking twice about it. But here is a question no one ever asks you. What if the single invention that made all of that possible had never happened? What if the wheel had never been invented? Not just your commute. Everything. Every single thing you do today would collapse into something unrecognizable. And the answer to that question is far stranger than you think. Your brain does not fully understand how dependent your life is on a circular piece of rotating material. You take it for granted so completely that it has become invisible. A wheel is not just a wheel. It is the skeleton of civilization itself. Remove it, and you are not just walking to work. You are erasing 5,500 years of human progress in one single moment. Let that sink in for a second. The wheel was first invented around 3,500 BCE in Mesopotamia, in the region that is now modern-day Iraq. But here is the counterintuitive part. According to historian Richard Bulliet, whose landmark research on transportation history reshaped how scholars understand ancient movement, the wheel was not invented for travel. Not at first. The earliest known wheels were potter's wheels. They spun clay. They made jars and bowls. It was only later that someone had the revolutionary idea of turning the wheel on its side and using it to move things. That one conceptual flip changed the world permanently. But what if that flip never happened? Picture your morning. You wake up. You need to go to work. There are no cars. There are no bicycles. There are no buses, trains, or motorcycles. All of them require wheels. Every single one. So you walk. In ancient times, a person carrying goods on foot could move maybe 5 to 10 kilograms over long distances without exhausting themselves. A horse with a wheeled cart could move over 1,000 kilograms. That difference is not minor. That difference is the gap between a village and a civilization. Without the wheel, your city does not exist. The buildings around you would be gone too. Cranes use wheels. Pulleys use wheels. The ancient Romans built their aqueducts, their roads, their entire empire on the logic of the wheel. David Gately, an archaeologist who studied Roman engineering infrastructure extensively, estimated that without wheeled transport, the Roman Empire as it existed could not have been supplied with food. The grain logistics alone required thousands of cart trips every week just to feed Rome's 1 million inhabitants. Remove the wheel and the empire starves. Empires do not form. Cities stay small. Your food changes entirely. Think about where your food comes from. Most of what you eat today traveled hundreds or thousands of kilometers to reach you. On trucks, on trains, in containers moved by wheeled vehicles at every step of the supply chain. In a world without wheels, you eat only what grows near you, and only what survives being carried by human hands or on the backs of animals. No refrigerated trucks, no distribution networks, no global trade of spices, grains, or fruits. You eat local, always, or you starve. Agriculture itself would look completely different. The plow changed farming. But what dragged the plow? Animals harnessed to wheeled carts. The irrigation systems that fed ancient civilizations moved water using wheels. The water wheel, one of history's most important energy sources, powered mills that ground grain into flour. Without it, grinding grain was done by hand, which was exhausting, time-consuming, and almost entirely done by women in ancient societies. Scholar Adrienne Mayer, who studied ancient technology and its social consequences, noted that early mechanical wheels for grinding freed entire populations from hours of daily manual labor. That freed time became the space in which culture, science, and philosophy could grow. No wheel, no free time, no philosophy. No Aristotle sitting down to think, no libraries being built by surplus labor, no scholars writing about the stars. Every spare moment would be consumed by survival, by carrying, by grinding, by hauling. Now think about medicine. Your hospital uses wheels. The gurney that rushes a patient into surgery has wheels. The machines that deliver medication through the hallways have wheels. The ambulance that brings someone in from a crash has wheels. Every piece of heavy medical equipment is moved on wheeled platforms. Without wheels, your hospital functions at a fraction of its capacity. Surgery is still possible, but logistics fall apart, and in medicine, logistics is often the difference between life and death. Think about war. History's greatest military campaigns were won and lost on logistics. Genghis Khan conquered the largest land empire in history in part because of wheeled supply carts that could move food and weapons across vast distances faster than any enemy anticipated. Napoleon's eventual defeat in Russia was partly a logistics failure, the inability to supply his army over impossible terrain. Without wheels, armies cannot move at scale. Without armies moving at scale, the map of the world looks completely different. Your country, your borders, your language, possibly your entire culture exists because of a series of military outcomes that depended on wheeled transportation. Remove the wheel and you are possibly not here at all. Your language itself might be different or extinct. Think about industry. The Industrial Revolution, the single most transformative period in human economic history, was built on rotating mechanisms, spinning wheels, gear wheels, the flywheel. James Watt's steam engine, which powered the entire revolution, worked because of a rotating mechanism that converted linear motion into circular motion. Without the wheel concept embedded throughout, the steam engine cannot function. No steam engine means no factories. No factories means no mass production. No mass production means no modern economy. The shirt on your body right now was produced on machines that depend on rotating parts descended from wheel logic. You would be wearing hand-stitched clothing. If you had clothing at all, that was not simple wrapped fabric. Even water. Even the water in your tap. Modern water systems pump water using turbines and motors. Both depend on rotating mechanisms derived from wheel principles. Ancient civilizations delivered water using water wheels and aqueducts. In a wheelless world, you carry water from a river or a well. Every single day, multiple times a day. Water is not background infrastructure. It becomes your primary daily task. And then there is communication. The printing press used a wheel-based screw mechanism to press ink onto paper. Before the press, books were copied by hand. Literacy was rare. Information spread slowly. The press shattered that barrier. It triggered the Reformation, the scientific revolution, and eventually the democratic revolutions of the 18th century. No wheel principle in the press mechanism means no mass printing. No mass printing means no mass literacy. No mass literacy means the information age never begins. You would not be watching educational videos about history because video cameras use wheel-based film mechanisms in their origins, and the internet itself runs on servers cooled by fans, which are rotary mechanisms, and powered by turbines, which are rotating wheels of another kind. The wheel is not one invention, it is the foundation underneath every other invention. Here is what makes this truly strange. The wheel seems so obvious now. Surely someone, somewhere, would have figured it out eventually. But the historical record says otherwise. The Americas, isolated from the Old World, developed rich and complex civilizations entirely without the wheel as a transportation tool. The Aztec, Maya, and Inca empires built massive cities, sophisticated agriculture, and elaborate social systems. And they didn't it on human backs. Researchers have found wheeled toys in ancient Mexican archaeological sites, meaning these civilizations understood the concept of the wheel. They simply never scaled it up for transport. Without draft animals large enough to pull carts, there was no economic incentive to do so. That tells you something profound. The wheel is not inevitable. Intelligence does not automatically produce it. Civilization does not require it. But the kind of civilization you live in right now, a world of cities and cars and hospitals and grocery stores and the internet, that civilization is impossible without it. Tonight, when you get into your car, or step onto a bus, or roll a suitcase through an airport, or drink water from a tap, or eat food that came from 1,000 kilometers away, or read words printed by a machine, you are doing something your ancestors could not have imagined. You are riding the wheel. You are living inside the consequence of one invention that almost never happened. The world you take for granted tonight exists because someone in Mesopotamia, 5,500 years ago, looked at a spinning potter's wheel and thought to turn it on its side. That one thought is the reason you exist the way you do. The wheel was not just invented, it invented you.